One. Welcome to the Positive Sports Podcast. I'll be your host this afternoon, Ed Montana. Alongside me today, my brother Alex. Alex, how you doing on this fine Labor Day?
I haven't done a goddamn thing, man. I'm celebrating by doing no labor.
Well, that's the way we celebrate in America, right? That's how we celebrate, man. Labor Day. We don't work.
That's right. You know, the Phillies had a reliever in today's game versus the Mets, whatever his first name is, and it's Workman. I'm like, poor guy, he's gotta work.
Well, if he's a bullpen guy from the Phillies, he's not working much.
Yeah, no, none of those guys are doing much work. None of those guys are doing much work.
Well, you know, that's true of the Mets bullpen as well.
Yeah.
So
it is. But yeah, man. Other than that, just chilling. We have I was watching the Rockets and Lakers yesterday, and I'm like, football starts this week. Like, I completely forgot about football. And then we talked a little earlier, and you were reminded of football.
Yeah.
So I think we're due for a NFL preview in a couple days.
That's right. I'm excited because that is one of my favorite episodes to do. Because
football in general, or just the preview?
The preview, the NFL preview show that we do, it's one of my favorites because every year you come up with a team out of nowhere. And, I mean, sometimes it's a disaster, right?
Right.
A team that ends up going, 2-14. And then sometimes it's a team that is really in the playoff hunt, surprises a lot of people, looks really good. You look like a Nostradamus when you make the, into the season. So I always look forward to that. Plus, the NFL preview, I think, is the best one because the NFL is the hardest to predict, right? A team can come out of nowhere. And this season, we have some big moving pieces that I think will make it even more interesting again. But anyway, that's we'll save that for another day, tomorrow or Wednesday. But be on the lookout for that, for all of our Positive Sports fans out there to listen to that NFL preview show coming out in a couple of days. Well, maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how schedules line up. Huh?
I said before the season starts, it'll be out.
Yeah, because then if we do it after the season starts, your picks kind of lose a little, they lose a little luster.
Well, I won't be wrong. That's for sure.
In that case, you won't. Well, look, what's really going on now is the NBA playoffs, right? We're into the second round of the playoffs, and I'm going to say I'm mildly surprised because the Bucks are getting absolutely manhandled by the Heat. Jimmy Butler is looking like a true superstar. Giannis is not looking great, and now he's hurt. We don't know if he'll be back for the rest of the series. It's 3-1 right now, and really it could have very easily been a sweep. We could have been talking about the Bucks being done already, but for the heroics of Chris Middleton during yesterday's game. I'm kind of shocked. I'm kind of not. What are your thoughts on the series so far?
I'm definitely shocked. 3-0, now 3-1. I'm definitely shocked. I'm shocked at the results, that it's 3-1, I'm not too shocked that the Heat are playing well because I think they have a pretty decent team. Like, I love no shave Jimmy Butler. I mean, the guy just looks, he hasn't shaved, and he's just, he got a really bad rep in Chicago, in Minnesota, and I think everybody around him in the Heat is enjoying playing with the guy. I mean, he lays it all out there. I mean, so they've done well all season. Really, the Heat have played well all season.
Yeah,
so
they have.
So yeah, I am mostly shocked at the results, but as well as the Heat are playing together, I'm not that shocked. But I mean, I don't give the Bucks a chance in the next game. I really
And
don't.
no, not at this point. And as far as Jimmy Butler is concerned, look, he had a reputation, and it was well deserved. He built that reputation himself. But what he has shown with Miami is a new level of maturity that he just didn't have with the Wolves, with the T Wolves, and certainly with the Bulls. And I think we may not like to admit it, right? We don't like to give Eric Spoelstra a whole lot of credit because we view him as the guy who just coached the big three and that was it, where he just kind of rolled the basketball out on the floor and voila, they won championships. But Eric Spoelstra has really done a great job. Remember, Jimmy Butler played for Tom Thibodeau, and Thibodeau's a good coach, but a very, very different style. And so I think this is one of those instances where really the styles have matched up to produce this Jimmy Butler, which is a clutch basketball player, a team basketball player, a leader on the court, a leader on the sideline, and really has this Miami team looking like they could do something special here. And on the flip side, you know, the Bucks are very disappointing. The Bucks look very, very disjointed. You know, last season we talked about Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Bledsoe. And is Bledsoe even on the team anymore? Like, I don't see that guy. Now, Chris Middleton came up huge yesterday because he was the only one on the court, and Giannis does what Giannis does, but that team seems very disjointed. They don't use Brook Lopez, I feel, nearly as much as they should. He has a significant advantage in the paint, and they don't seem to go to him. I understand he's not going to be your first option, but the Bucks just look like they're just running down the court and throwing it up whenever they get it, you know, make a couple passes and then nothing shows up, chuck it. And that kind of basketball just isn't going to work. And defensively, they're not doing the job on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, great point by, with Spoelstra, because, I mean, let's remember, this guy had Bosh, Wade, LeBron. He's got a completely brand new 15 guys on the team, right? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, what he's done really, I mean, is fucking incredible. But for the Bucks, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess not playing together, like you say, playing disjointly is the best way I think it could be described. They're just not, they're just not playing well. And Giannis is getting defended pretty good. Like, they're not giving him anything easy. So
yeah,
Miami's got a lot of shooters too. So, they get hot. This is what I wanted to ask you though, right? Jimmy Butler gets a bad rep, right? Or had a bad rep because he, demanded so much from his teammates. I mean, Jordan did the same thing, except of course Jordan, won a few championships here and there. But I mean, he demanded the best out of his teammates. And we look at him as, man, he just wanted to win. Jimmy Butler does it, and it's like, oh, he's an ass. I don't think so. But, other people may say, oh, he's a dickhead and, being rough on his teammates and talking down on them. But essentially, he kind of has done the same thing.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a difference in demeanor and approach. Michael Jordan always very professional with the media. Jimmy Butler kind of, throwing teammates under the bus. And, I think it's different to demand excellence from your teammates in the practice room and on the court when you're during the course of the game, and then not trashing them to the media, which Jimmy Butler has done. And the other thing is, Jimmy Butler in the past has been very openly critical of the coaching, right? Which Michael Jordan never did that. And I think when you start criticizing the coaching, it feels like a bit of a pass the buck, which turns people off. And he may have been right. I'm not saying he was wrong. He may have been right in his assessment, but when you start to do it in the media, that's when it kind of soils your reputation, so to speak. And I think that's what happened to him to a certain degree. And, he kind of quit on those teams at one point. Like, he got to a certain point where he just kind of said, screw it. It's not going to happen here, or it's not going to happen this season. We're not good enough. And he mailed it in, which Jordan would never do. Right. So
Right.
I think those are the slight differences, but I think to your point, he is the ultimate competitor. One of the things that I really liked, there was that controversial call in the game last night where he was fouled, but because of the rules, the only thing that the referees could review was who the ball was off of, because it ended up going out of bounds, and the coach didn't challenge it. And Jimmy Butler just kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, hey, man, that's the call, and we just go on to the next play, right? Like, he didn't – I think the older Jimmy Butler might have blown a gasket there and maybe lost his cool. And they ended up losing the game anyway, but he – like that play did not define the game for him and for his team. They ended up playing well throughout, and then they just lost in overtime. So I think that those two things, that is a point of where you can really see some of the maturity in Jimmy Butler.
Is it over? Is this series over?
Oh yeah. I mean, look.
Next game.
The only thing that we can talk about when it comes to the Bucks at this point is what's going to happen with Giannis. Is he going to sign a long-term deal? Are they going to get him some help? Or is he just going to, bounce for a bigger market? I think that is probably the most interesting conversation we can have, and the most realistic conversation we can have about the Bucks at this point.
You don't think the Bucks will come back from 3-0?
No, and Giannis is compromised at this point. I don't know how badly he's hurt. I don't know if he's going to play Game 5 or not. But even if he plays Game 5, he's compromised. No. Nope. There will be no miracle comeback by the Bucks. Sorry. Moving on, Boston and Toronto has been an entertaining series. I hate to say this because it sounds kind of disparaging, but I'm surprised it's 2-2. This series feels like it should be 3-1. It almost feels like it should be 4-0. I mean, the Celtics have dominated this series, and I'm surprised that the Raptors have won 2 games. You there? Did I lose you?
I mean, I don't think this. I mean, it's 2-2. I mean, how should the series be 4-0 or 3-0? I mean, no. By who? By the Celtics?
I think the Celtics have dominated the series. Even the 2 games they lost, I felt like they could have very easily won those games. One of them they should have won, right? Like, it was a Hail Mary 3-pointer by a guy that doesn't even shoot 3-pointers. I don't even remember his name. And
OG
made a fantastic shot. Fantastic shot. But that was the Celtics game to win. And then the last game, the Raptors ended up winning, but the Celtics dominated large portions of that game. And I'm surprised the Raptors kind of just hung around, and then managed to pull it out. But to me, this series feels like it's been dominated by the Celtics. Tell me it's not gonna go that way the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, what's impressed me with the Raptors is their switch on the swing passes. Their switch defense is fucking on point. Like, they contest every damn shot. They did it against the Nets. They've done it here against the Celtics. Win or lose, they just defend really well. I mean, I think this has been a pretty even series. I mean, this is kind of what I expected. So I expected to go 7 games. So I think they're giving us some good basketball.
It's been fun to watch, but I think the Celtics take this relatively easily the rest of the way. I think the Celtics are the better team at this point.
Yeah.
So we got an interesting game in the Rockets Lakers series. An interesting game 1, an interesting game 2. But boy, this sure feels like the Lakers got a wake-up call in game 1, and the Lakers are going to roll from here on out. Anthony Davis was a monster last night against the Rockets. He scored, I don't know, All of the
He had,
points? I
he
mean,
had 34.
no, he had more than 34. He had to have more than 34.
No, he had 34.
It looked more like 64 to me. It seemed like he was scoring all the time. Now, granted, I wasn't watching the game. I was kept flipping back, and every time I flipped back, he was scoring. So it felt that way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had 34. I think. I could be wrong. I'm not always right.
Yeah, 34. Yeah,
Let's see.
pretty good. Either way, I feel like the Lakers are gonna take this series. The size is just too much. It's just too much to play that small ball and depend on Harden. And Westbrook is just not Westbrook. I'm convinced Westbrook is still somewhat injured because he's just not playing right. Thoughts?
I mean, well, I'll start off with, you know, I don't think the Rockets small ball can hang for 7 games. I think they'll barely hang for 6 games. What I question is, you know, if you look back at how the center position has changed throughout the years, like, could you imagine if Shaq was playing on this Lakers team and he was guarded by Eric Gordon or PJ Tucker? There is no reason why the Lakers don't post up Anthony Davis every fucking play and just back down whoever he's guarding, because it's gonna wear. It's just gonna, as good. PJ Tucker's a bulldog. He's got a great heart. That's great. But when you look at it matchup-wise, he doesn't match up with Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis needs to be fed the ball 40 times and take 40 everything in the paint. Like, he just needs to dominate.
They don't have.
That's it. That's all they need to do.
They don't have anyone. I mean, the only guy on their roster is Tyson Chandler, and he didn't play last night. I don't think he played in game 1. Like, and I don't – how much resistance could he put up? But, yeah, you're right. If I have Anthony Davis against PJ Tucker, I think I post up Anthony Davis every single time down the floor until they do something different, right? Until they either immediately put 6 guys on him and I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you do, but you just – I continue to go to that well and I don't stop going to that well until the game's over.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing the Lakers need to do is they need to hit their shots a little better. The 3-point shot needs to go in a little more. So, Anthony Davis is going to get double, triple teamed. That's going to leave at least one player open. They got to be able to knock down those shots. I don't trust.
And that's really where the Lakers have a problem, right? If not in this series, then certainly in the next series and the series after that, is they're not a good shooting basketball team.
Yeah. So, and we've done all this talking about the Lakers, and we haven't mentioned LeBron James. So, I don't think the Rockets match up well against the Lakers at all. I would like to see the Lakers, go to Kuzma a little more, maybe have him, get into take some more shots, get a little confidence, because they're gonna need a third wheel.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I mean, Kuzma could be that in the playoffs, right? At least. So,
well,
and the Rockets.
And the way this Lakers team is built, it's built for Kuzma to be that third wheel. And you don't give him the ball and you don't get him in the flow of the game, you're going to have a problem. And this is why I think the Lakers are going to have a problem going forward. And as much as they are the odds-on favorite to win this thing, man, I just don't know. I don't see it. I really don't see it unless LeBron goes back to the LeBron of old and Anthony Davis just goes off every night. You're going to have those guys basically pouring in 70 points a game for them to win, and it's got to be an efficient 70. Otherwise, they're going to have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, when you look around the West, you have the Rockets who are, they're either going to shoot themselves in a game or they're going to shoot themselves out of a game. And you have the Clippers who Paul George is not Paul George just yet, right? So they have their issues also.
Yeah.
And then you have the Nuggets who, I mean, they're playing well, but I don't know that, so when you look at the West, I think every team has issues right now. But I mean, the Lakers got the best player on the planet. They got the best big man in the game, I think. The other guys just need to step up, and it's really, once that three ball starts going in, I think the Lakers will be fine.
That brings us to the last series, the Clippers and the Nuggets. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched a whole lot of this series. It just hasn't worked out for me timing-wise. I think this series is going to be better than people think. I think, I think everyone's penciled the Clippers to go through because the Nuggets had to go through that hard 7-game series with the Jazz. But the Nuggets are a tough basketball team, and they still have really good players in Murray and Jokic. I think we're going to see a dandy of a series here. Who do you like?
Oh, I think the Clippers went out at the end. What is it? Is it 1-1?
It's 1-1 right now. We got Game 3 tonight.
I'll tell you what, Denver in Game 2 fucking smothered the fuck out of Kawhi Leonard. I mean, like, they really smothered him really good. They controlled the paint. Like, their big men came to play. So that's kind of what you got to do at this point. Like, Paul George is the number 2 guy, but he's not playing like a number 2 guy. So focus in on Kawhi. Let everybody else beat you, I think the Nuggets are going to give them a good run for their money, but I mean, I still got the Clippers.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup when you look at the top 2 guys on both sides, right? You've got Jamal Murray and Jokic on one side and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the other. And I think it's going to be a good matchup through and through. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out, but I see this going all the way. I think it's going to end up being a 7-game series. And if I had to guess right now, I have no pick right now. I just don't know who would be favored. Well, I know who's favored, but if I had to bet, I don't know that I'd part with my money. I think I'd sit on the sideline and not wager.
Yeah, this does look like one of the well, actually, if you're gonna bet, the spread would be what to bet because right, if we're thinking it's gonna be close games.
Well, the spread has been blown apart the last couple of games, right? The Clippers won by a lot, and then the Nuggets won by a fair amount. So,
right, yeah,
the spread has been irrelevant in these games, but we shall see.
True.
So what do you think about the NBA here in the bubble now that they're in the second round? They've kicked the hose out and brought the families in. Is that great?
Yeah, I mean, the players get a little taste of everything, right? They get some outside food and then home cooked food.
That's right. I thought it was. Look, the NBA. We don't hear as much about the hockey bubble, but the NHL has done a fantastic job with their bubble. Yep. Theirs was 2 bubbles. They've now consolidated it to 1 now that they're at the conference finals. They've done a fantastic job as well. I don't think they haven't let anyone at the games, and I don't think they've let the families into the bubble. So they've kept it that way. But it has worked perfectly, right? And the NBA has done a fantastic job with their bubble. I think this is great. And it propels the sport even higher in terms of ratings, and it makes people want to watch. Like, oh, look, they're holding their kids and stuff. It's a blast. I think the NBA continues to do it right.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess it's good that their virus count is low. Like, right, there's no cases. So, I mean, that was, I think, the whole point of this whole thing. But I've watched plenty of the playoffs, and you just miss the crowd noise. You miss the crowd. You miss the players. Looking at the crowd and the tour. I mean, like playing in Boston, right? I mean, it's just you miss all that. You can't hear what the fans are saying, right? You can't hear all the heckling, but you know what's going on. You know what I mean? And it's either going to fuel or it's going to break the away team. So, but I mean, yeah, everything else, it's whatever, you know.
There is a certain amount of energy, obviously, that the fans bring to the game, and it's missed.
Oh yeah,
no question. I will say this though: I think the smaller venue, the less distractions outside of the court. It seems to me, and I don't have any statistics to back this up, the games have been higher scoring. I feel like the shooting has been better, and I feel it's because there's no background, right? Everything is dark around the court, so, or relatively dark, darker than it would be in a normal arena, and so the shooters, I think, are finding it easier to shoot, and so the quality of play, I think, has actually been better. You just don't have the same amount of emotion. It's more robotic, I guess. So, and again, there's going to be differences. There's going to be pluses and minuses, but I think the NBA overall has done a fantastic job with this whole bubble thing. The one place where they screwed up, the players could have like their wife and kids. The referees were even allowed to bring one person. The coaches were not. Why can't the coaches bring someone? Like, that's kind of fucked up.
Well, they have to coach. They can't be distracted. They have to draw up a game plan.
Yeah, but the players have to play.
Yeah, but they got a game plan.
You know what I think? I think it was I hate to say this, right? But I think it was an ageist thing. It was an age decision, right? Because all the coaches are older. So who are they going to bring? Their spouse, who is also older. They don't want anyone getting the Rona and dropping dead right there. You know what I'm saying? In the bubble.
Could be. Could be. That's a good theory.
That's the only thing I can think of. What other reason would there be for not letting the coaches bring somebody when you let the players and even the referees?
Yeah, and some of those refs look like they're, 50, 55.
Yeah. But, I mean, most of them look young, right? They got to be young to run up and down the court for 2.5 hours.
Well, yeah. Well, they train to.
Yeah, that's true.
They got to be in shape.
I can't think of a good reason why the coaches were not allowed to bring. All right, we got to put this out to the Positive Sports Army out there. If you guys know why the NBA did not allow the coaches to bring someone to the bubble starting in the second round of the playoffs, go ahead and email the show, positivesports10@gmail.com, positivesports10@gmail.com. If they want to get a hold of you, Alex, and let you know what the deal is with the coaches, how do they do that?
On Twitter at BrooklynGaucho1.
And you can reach out to me on Twitter as well at eMontana21. You can catch our podcast, of course, on YouTube, Podbean, Google Play, iTunes, whatever podcast platform you choose to use. That pretty much covers it for the NBA playoffs. Hey, you want to go play some tennis?
If you're the line judge.
No, man, it's too dangerous to be a line judge. If I'm going to be the line judge, I'm going to wear a catcher's mask with a little flap to cover my throat.
Listen, I've seen some of those line judges get hit with, in the groin, in the face. I mean, they're in a really dangerous. These tennis balls are getting served at like 120 miles per hour. Yeah, it's a dangerous job.
Yeah, it is. It is. But what we're talking about, obviously, is Novak Djokovic, who hit a linesperson on a changeover for no reason. I mean, he wasn't even mad at the linesman. He was mad at himself. He blew a point, right. And he was serving, so he took the ball out of his pocket, the extra ball, and, just basically dropped it and flicked it. And it hit, I mean, it was it's like the fucking tennis ball had eyes and just throat punched the linesperson. And I'm telling you, I don't know. Did you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it looked intentional. Really, it really looked intentional.
I mean, it was such a perfect shot.
I don't think it was, but it definitely looked intentional.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not intentional. But it looked it because the ball just went, like right at her throat. And she dropped I mean,
Oh
she
yeah.
dropped, and she looked like a Melissa McCarthy victim of a throat punch because she was like, and
She was
I mean,
probably.
I'm laughing now because she's okay, right? But I mean, it looked bad at the moment. It looked
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah. Kind of sucks that he lost that way by default, but I guess the rules. But
Yeah,
it's pretty fucking nuts.
yeah.
I wonder if she'll try to like sue him or something.
Oh, eh, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say
Yeah,
yes
you
because
think
that's
so?
just what people do, right?
It's America.
Yeah, I mean, look, only in 2020 with the odds-on favorite. Djokovic was such a big favorite that he was favored over the entire field. There are
Damn.
127 other male tennis players in the U.S. Open. He was favored over all of them put together.
Damn.
Only in 2020 would that kind of favorite lose in the round of 16 by DQ.
I would be pretty pissed if I put some money
Oh,
on Djokovic.
dude, you and I both follow gambling Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And I, of course, I saw all kinds of tweets go by yesterday. People talking about tennis is a bullshit sport. People like, I'm so glad I bet on Medvedev or whoever, whatever the other guy was. Like, yeah, people just went on and on, just irate at Djokovic for doing that.
That's rough.
Hats off to the USTA and the US Open because I mean they did exactly what the rules said, right? And if there was ever a time where you might have looked for some bending of the rules, it's here. I mean, he is your far and away your number one male. You can't even pronounce the name of the next three guys that are chasing him, at this tournament. And he is your number one draw on the men's side. There's another week to go in this U.S. Open.
Yeah.
He does something that deserves to be DQ'd, and the U.S. Open said, "You're DQ'd. We don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care. We don't give a shit. You're out." And hats off to them because as long as they talked about it, I was watching it. They talked about it for about 15 minutes. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to talk his way out of it. And they didn't budge. They were like, no. And now I guess someone read the lips of the conversation between him and the head official. And he's like, look, he made a few points, which I agree with, right? He said, you can penalize me a game or a set or whatever. I agree. When you're arguing your case, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Then he said, look, I've never done anything like this in my entire career. I've never hit anyone. That's a good point, right? When you're arguing to try to lessen your punishment, that's a good argument. Then he says, look, it's the quarterfinal. It's the round of 16 in a grand slam. Okay, now your argument's a little bit, now starting to get shaky. And then he said the one thing that just made me go, Novak, shut up. He goes, she didn't even have to go to the hospital.
Well, was he right?
I don't know. I mean, they took her off the court.
There's no way she went to the hospital.
Look, you don't know. Have you ever been hit in the throat with a tennis ball?
No.
Next time we're together, I'm going to hit you in the throat with a tennis ball so that we can see if it's hospital worthy.
Well, I have to do it back to you so you can see also.
No, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, look, I understand the rules of the rules, okay? There's plenty of cops that bend the rules for you, right? When you a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
I think tennis could have fucking let him slid. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. Man. Come on. Seriously. So I thought that was I think that's pretty fucking weak, actually. I think it's pretty weak. Not because it's Djokovic. It could have been anybody. I just think it's, if the judge deep inside did not think it was intentional,
no one thought
I
it was
think
intentional.
Huh?
No one thought it was intentional. No one thought it was intentional. No one thought it was
did the
intentional.
judge think
it
was intentional?
The umpire, the rules official, the tournament official, even the linesperson, no one thought it was intentional. That was never a question.
Right. See, yeah. Then I mean, I would have considered not fucking.
Here's the problem.
It's kind of weak. It's like a weak. It's like that weak 3-point the foul. What was it? Was it like game 1 between Boston and the Raptors? They had like a really weak foul called on a 3-point. You know, it's just weak, really. I think, in my opinion, just my opinion.
Here's my thing though. When the rule is so black and white, you really have no choice. And he's a tennis player. Look, he knows, right? The rule is, this is the rule. In case you're wondering, the rule is it's called ball abuse, and that's not some kind of funny play with your girlfriend. If you if you strike a ball with your racket, with your hand, with your head, with your foot, outside of a game of play, right? Outside of the actual game, hitting a tennis shot, and it strikes anyone, a ball boy, a lines judge, the umpire, a fan, anyone, you are immediately disqualified. That's the rule. And when you're frustrated, these guys, when they're frustrated and they hit a ball, they slam a ball, they know, even in that moment of frustration, they know that they're taking this much of a risk, that if they hit somebody, they're going to be disqualified. They all know the rule. And look, Novak Djokovic is 33 years old. Novak Djokovic has won 17 Grand Slam titles. This is not his first rodeo. When he hit that ball, even though he wasn't looking, even though he wasn't trying to hit anyone, the minute he hit that ball in frustration, he knew that he was taking this much risk of hitting somebody. He happened to hit someone in the throat, and he got DQ'd. I have no problem with it. I think it's absolutely the right call. The rule is there for a reason. He slammed the ball into the wall earlier. That didn't hit anybody. He didn't get DQ'd, right? He didn't violate the rule. It's very simple. It is black and white to me.
Yeah.
I can just see it now. Like, the French Open's in a couple of weeks. It would be hilarious if for the first round match, all the lines people were wearing catcher's masks.
Cups on the outside of their shorts.
There you go. That would be hilarious.
Guards.
Oh, you know what? They get like they're wearing a mask, and then they attach the little throat protector that the catchers wear. That would be perfect.
That would be actually very humorous if someone just did that. Like one of the line judges just showed up like that just because. It'd
be funny if Novak had a few of those made and like handed them to the lines people before the start of his next match. But you can't do that now because they wouldn't accept it because of COVID. Like they wouldn't want to touch it because he touched it.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway. All right, man. You got anything else?
That's it, man. I'm ready to go watch this basketball game, go eat some dinner, and enjoy the rest of my night.
All right, man. Don't forget to do your homework for that NFL preview coming up in just a day or two.
Yes, definitely.
Can't wait. Can't wait is right. Well, with that, we've come to the end of another wonderful episode of the Positive Sports Podcast. As always, we appreciate you listening, watching, and interacting with us, however you choose to do it. As always, folks, ignore the negativity. Be the positivity.
Peace.